Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pierce. This is a breaking news update for the 4th of December, where I'm going to speak to you about a strike that took place last night, we now understand, on Kacha military airfield in Crimea. It's the destruction of the first Russian MiG-29 that we know about since the beginning of the war. Older style plane, but still does quite a lot of heavy lifting, both for Ukraine and Russia. And this really, it's not so much the plane. It is about the plane getting destroyed, of course, but it's about these medium range drones that we're seeing more and more of. I could show you a dozen videos of Primary unit and other units attacking radar after air defense system, after this, after that. You know, time and time again, we are seeing these strikes take place, particularly across Crimea, but now it's extended to Donbass as well. Now we're going to see this drone attack and wonder what drone was used, and I'm going to comment on that a little bit in a second. But in the meantime, just reminding you that you can indeed subscribe if you haven't already, and that would be super appreciated. Keep you in the loop as to what is going on in the war in Ukraine and elsewhere. Okay, let's get to the details. So here we have this video coming from Primary. I'm going to take myself to the side, actually, so you can see it more clearly. This is the Kacha airbase in Crimea. And you can see that the drone here actually gets really close before the feed cuts out. This is, well, initially, I would have said this is quite possibly an FP2 drone that has a 200-kilometer range and a 105-kilogram warhead, but that's a pretty sizable warhead. You wouldn't need to use a drone of that big a warhead against a target like that, against pieces of equipment. There's not only that plane that was taken out, but we see a number of other facilities getting hit, radars and other bits of equipment. There's another radar there near Vesely, as you can see. I presume so. Yeah, that was also taken out. But the plane there, in fact, let's show that to you just one more time. The beginning part, where this plane is targeted by the drone MiG-29. What I would hope is that these drones are being sent every night, and no plane is safe on Crimea. There are a number of different air bases. Kacha, you've got Jankoy up in the north certainly has helicopters. I don't know if it's got planes, but you also have Saki airfield too. A number of places that can be targeted by these drones. And this is just one of so many videos that we've seen. In fact, this morning I shared this video with you, which is a good 2-minute video of some people talking about the strikes using and they are pretty explicit here, Boba and Obriy drones. These are 30-kilogram warhead drones, so not the 105 kilogram of an FP2. Therefore, you would assume cheaper, but just as effective in taking out individual pieces of kit. Like I said, you wouldn't want to waste 105 kilograms against something like a plane or an air defense launcher or something. So it's horses for courses. Really good to see these sorts of videos so frequently published at the moment. Now, here we have part of this video that I showed you this morning. We appear to have another plane that was targeted. Now, unfortunately, the video cuts there and you don't see whether it gets closer in and actually strikes that plane. I don't know why the video would cut there, but I'd hope that other planes have been taken out by these sorts of videos. Also, we had a Firepoint video released over the last 24 hours or so that was very much a PR video showing how they're making these Firepoints FP1 and FP2 drones. I'm not going to show you this, but there's just an awful lot of, because it's more of a PR thing that doesn't show you the strikes, but there is definitely this sense that Firepoints are ramping up. They've just started building their factory in Denmark. They had a PR exercise there where the Danish and Ukrainians were like starting to dig a hole, 3 of them with their spades there. That will help to provide, I believe, solid rocket fuel for these drones or missiles. We have heard that Firepoint are, as it says here, just about to get their FP7 tactical ballistic missile up and running. That's looking like it's going to be on the cards for early 2026. They're going to get it codified by the end of this year. That gives them less than a month. That's pretty exciting for the Ukrainians. And then all of these drones now, we're unsure. It says FP2 here. So these are FP2s. These are the 200 kilometer ranged 105 kilogram warhead drones, here hitting the launch site of a Shahed, a Shahed drone launch site here. And I showed you this the other day, and these kind of videos are being released every night now. And if I'm excited about anything with regard to the Ukrainians, what they're doing at the moment, it is in this domain. It's the medium range drones that they understood. You know, many people were saying the Ukrainians lacked in this area. The Russians had the Lancet drones. Now they're only 4.5 kilogram drones, but they're the ones that sort of go and hit pieces of equipment in the near rear, or they spot for missiles. What Ukraine has done and said, you know, hold my beer, we're going to get a range of drones, the Beaver drones that they've had for some time, actually, but they're now starting to, I think, really use them effectively, closer to home, maybe, in terms of hitting the near rear, hitting pieces of equipment, individual pieces of high value equipment or buildings. I mean, here in this one, we have, again, FP2 drones being used to take out concentration points of Russian enemy personnel in the Pokrovsk area, ammunition depots, so on and so forth, around Pokrovsk and the village of Kamyanka. This is the use of drones in the really around the zero line, the contact line, or very close to staging points for these troops and whatnot. It's exactly what I'd like to see the Ukrainians do, which is, yeah, how do you answer the Russian use of guided glide bombs? Well, you have your own guided glide bombs, but you require, in order to match the Russians, an awful lot more planes, an awful lot more bombs, and they struggle to have that kind of capacity. So what the Ukrainians have done, like they're trying to replace humans with drones on a front line, they're trying to, I guess, replace bombs with drones that functionally do the same sort of thing. So they're hitting these areas or along the front line and then in the near rear, and they are ramping up production of these drones and drone missile hybrids, and they're using them super effectively. Again, here we've got FP1, FP2, one of the two. FP1 being the longer range, slightly smaller warhead. FP2, shorter range, bigger warhead. Commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Magyar, showed nighttime strikes on Russian targets in Taganrog, Novorossiysk, and Tuapse using FP1, FP2 type kamikaze drones. So we don't know exactly maybe what they are. But again, you know, and I haven't shown you like the dozens of videos of radars being taken out and air defense launchers being taken out, but Magyar showing, you know, what these drones are doing in taking it. There was that it wasn't an A50, actually, it was an A100 in the end, but, you know, doing so much damage with these drones, it appears. You do wonder whether some of these were missile strikes as well. But it's, again, it's the, you know, okay, these are fairly long distance when you're going down to Tuapse and places. But it's just I think the scaling up that we've been expecting, I think it's just taking place. So the Ukrainians are being able to use a whole range of weapons now much more frequently, and the stats bear this out. So this morning I shared stats with you, and yesterday I shared other stats to say that in the month of November, wasn't it, 14 refineries were hit, and then there were more stats out saying that the scale of hits at the moment has not been seen since the start of the war. So Ukraine are definitely ramping up pressure on the Russians by using more and more of these drones and missiles. And I get excited. If anything excites me at the moment, it's hoping that these sorts of videos are going to meet me when I wake up in the morning. I am that sad. Yes. And to see a MiG-29 fighter get surely absolutely taken out is a joy for me to see. Um, the the Russians are going to be very wary to keep anything on Crimea, I would have thought, going forward. And it's also very surprising that there was no protection for that plane, considering that's as close as you're going to get as an airbase to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian forces, and yet didn't appear to be protected at all in any way there. So yeah, good news for Ukraine. That's another plane taken out, and it is part of a much larger story of seeing Ukraine build up their capacity and their capabilities in terms of these medium and long range strikes. Good stuff, Ukraine. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.